Hey everybody, welcome back again to the college application process for rising seniors and anyone else who wants to know. This session is going to be session number 6 about application forms, the common application and some other uncommon ones as well. And mostly I'm really going to focus on the Common App because with modern technology and using the wonders of the internet to help students to apply to college, there's very little bit of this work that is done on paper anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of the PowerPoint and I'm going to jump into something called the Common Application. And this is what it would look like if your name were George Washington. And you see that George has an email address that is very similar to mine. And he has applied to the George Washington University and to the University of Maine, or at least that his application is in progress. So truthfully, this is kind of a false application that I set up to use in the classroom with students to show them a little bit about the process, because Common Application on my side of the ledger doesn't look anything like it does on the student side, and this is something that I did just to help make myself a little more familiar with what the students see. But students can go through on their Common App and they can do a college search, and they can pick out any university that is a partner with Common App, and they can apply to those schools by adding them to the list of my colleges. And we've already done that with George. He's George Washington University and the University of Maine. So then what we do is we go into the actual Common Application, and this is where we fill out all of the data that goes into a typical application form. Now the Common App usually becomes available to students in August or September. Usually by September 1st it's available to them, sometimes earlier. And they can get started on getting their application filled out. So in the meantime, it's helpful to kind of look at this and say, okay, what information do I need to get together? What kind of data do I need to know so I can start filling out my Common App? And just so you give an idea on what happens after this is filled out, when the Common Application is completely filled out and it's ready to go, and it is submitted directly to all of to the universities that you have selected in your list, and these universities take the Common App as their formal application. Now, many universities have their own institutional application. Like if you go on to the website at the University of Maine, you will get the University of Maine application, and you can apply directly that way. But if you're applying to more than one school and all of the schools that you're applying to are all in Common App, save yourself a lot of headaches. Use Common App, and that way you've got all of your application materials in one location, and you don't have to go hunting around to all of the different sites of your schools. I know I have some students that have applied to more than a dozen or so colleges, and that can be quite cumbersome if you're trying to go one website at a time and filling in all of this stuff multiple times. So you're going to do all of the important information, your vital information, your name and your mailing address and your gender and birth date and addresses, your demographics, where you're from, languages you speak, and if you qualify for free or reduced lunch, then you are going to qualify for a Common App fee waiver, which would waive the application fees to most, if not all, of the universities in the Common App. You'll put in information about your family. whether you have both parents, they're living with both parents, if they're married, and what their educational backgrounds are. There'll be information about parent 1 and about parent 2, and where they're from, what their educational background is. You'll put in information about your education. You'll let them know what high school you attend. And the computer's moving along a little slow here. But the high school that you attended, what the kind of school it is, when you'll graduate. This is where you'll put information about your school counselor as well. And so that they can contact us. And yeah, and then your future plans, what you want to major in, all of your educational plans go in that tab. Then you'll put in information about testing, and this is called self-reporting. Now, I know the last video we talked about SATs, and official SAT scores come directly from the College Board, and you have to order those. But many schools will accept a self-reported score, and this would be a self-reported score. You could indicate the kinds of tests that you've taken, and it'll give you a chance to, it'll open up a new box and it'll tell you to enter your test scores. You'd put AP scores here, you would put SAT 2s, the subject tests, SATs, ACTs, any standardized test that a college would be interested in, you can put it in right there. Activities that you're involved in, this is an important section. This is one of those big 5, right? Talking about, do you have any activities do you wish to report? And it lists the different types of activities that they're looking for here. And those include work and volunteering experiences, sports, hobbies, even family responsibilities. There's a area in there if you work, but you work for your family. Maybe you're providing daycare for younger siblings. All of these kinds of things are interesting to the colleges, and there are spaces there for you to put that in. The last section in your profile is the writing section, and in this you are asked to write a Common App essay. And it'll tell you here all the schools that are in your dashboard, the ones that you've picked out so far. You can see here that the George Washington University does require the Common App essay. The University of Maine does not. And that changes from year to year, but that's one of the nice features of the Common App is they will tell you these things. You know, this is required for this university. This is not required. So, for example, if you were only applying to the University of Maine, you don't have to submit an essay. One thing I will say on that as kind of a side note, I'd still send one if I were you, even if the university doesn't require it, especially if there is something about you that you think is important that is not included in the Common App. And that actually is the first prompt that they give you. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. Even though University of Maine does not require it, if that fits your description, then I would still submit it. Remember, not required doesn't mean not allowed. So if they say not required, and you're having to write the essay for GW anyway, then go ahead and include it. So what you would do is you would pick one of these prompts, and your essay would be about that. Now, one of the videos later on in this series is about writing the Common App essay. The biggest thing I would say at this point is if you are looking at your summer vacation ahead of you, and you know that in September school is going to start, and you're going to be playing soccer, and you're going to be taking 7 AP classes, and you're going to be busy as crazy, then now would be a good time to get your Common App essay started. So that when you come back and you're in your English class in September, and your teacher says, we're going to work on Common App essays, you've already got one started. You're already into the process. This is a big deal, and it is a very important part of your application when it's required. And so you want to make sure that you do a thorough editing process and that you gather input from a lot of other people. And again, I'm going to talk more about that later on in another episode of this series. Another thing that you're going to be able to do is you'll go into your colleges and you'll be able to see if there are any other requirements above and beyond what you did in the Common App. And George Washington University does in fact require there be there's an additional writing prompt. There's additional questions that you have to answer and so forth. So those would all be right there. When you get to the end of it, you would click review and submit, and what you see on the screen right now, my application here is not done, so it's not ready to be submitted. It's telling you you've got to finish everything before you submit it. But once you are ready to submit, you would sit down and you would basically go through the process of if there's an application fee, you need to have a credit card ready to pay for your application fee. Those can usually be anywhere from $25 as much as $100 I've seen for certain universities. So you're depending on where you apply. So that's just kind of walking you through this process. Now every university has just its own little nuances and things that it wants to include in the application. There are some schools that you won't find on Common App. You might find it on a different platform similar to Common App called the Coalition application. The Coalition application is more common for southern and western universities. So if you're applying to somewhere in Texas, for example, like Rice University uses Coalition App. What I ask of people is that, and some schools will accept applications from both platforms. And what I ask students to do is to use Common App as much as possible. Only use Coalition App if it's not on Common App and you have no other choice. The same thing for institutional applications. If you go to the University of Maine and use their online application, that is fantastic. But if you're applying to multiple schools, put everything under one umbrella and use Common App. It'll save you time, and it also saves your guidance counselor a lot of time being able to go to just one platform. I also want to show you what it looks like on my side, because what I have to do is I have to fill out a school report about you. And I have to indicate your class rank, and I have to indicate your grade point average. I have to upload your transcript. I have to upload your senior courses. I have to write a letter of recommendation and put that in. So that's what's under ratings. And so you get all of the input from the school. You also, when you go into this, you're going to be able to request recommenders. And that's where you would supply Common App with an email address to one of your teachers or two of your teachers to write you a letter of recommendation. The teachers would upload that information directly into Common App. You don't have to move any paper. It all is handled electronically, and it goes directly in there. So very easy process. This information is helpful for you to know prior to the start of the school year of your senior year, so that you know what the steps are going to be. The Common App application, once you sit down, you have the data and you know what it is you're supposed to do, you could probably finish it all in one sitting. But the nice thing about it is you can fill it out, you can come back to it, you can edit it, you can add more information up until the point where you submit the application to the college. Once you click submit, it sends the data that you've included, and you don't have an opportunity to adjust that. So lots of students take great care to take their time and go back to it and make sure that they didn't make any errors, have a parent look it over, and so forth. But I also, I can't show it to you because it's privacy issues, but if I clicked under My Students, you would see my list of students that have completed their Common App, and I can make sure that their recommenders have submitted their recommendations. I can see if the university on the other side has uploaded the application, or downloaded it, I should say, sorry. So I'm able to see all of the steps, and so is the student able to see all of the steps just by logging in to the one place. So it's a very, very helpful tool, and it reduces the workload for students and school counselors and recommenders, and for admissions folks on the other end quite a bit. So this is where we steer most people to. The other thing I would do is, when you know a school that you're going to apply to, check out their website and make sure that they don't have any requirements that are outside of the expectations that you're going to find in Common App. It's always good to double check. It's very rare that we would find any kind of discrepancies or mistakes, but it's a lot riding on it, so it's good to double check. With that said, you know that towards the end of August you should be looking for Common App to come online, and once it comes online, you create an account and you get started. And just like always, if you have any questions, you can contact your guidance counselor and we can see what we can do to help you answer those questions. So with that said, I hope this was informative about Common App and actually filling out application forms for college. This has been section 6 of 16 for our series on college applications, and I hope to see you in section 7 very shortly. Take care.